I believe in my channel I have said a lot of things about Thieaudio, especially from its mid to high-end product, and for me they are one of the companies that I believe they are able to tune, because their products are really good in tuning, especially like Clairvoyance, Oracle, Monarch Mark II, and a lot of their products are very excellent. And right now I could review its flagship. So hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for the current flagship of the Thieaudio, and this is the V16 Divinity. So first of all, thank you for my friend Ferry Murdiansyah who have lent me his collection to be reviewed. And this Thieaudio V16 Divinity is using 16 balance armatures per side, so yeah, that's a lot of balance armatures. And it costs around $1,500. So yeah, it's simply the flagship of this Thieaudio. It's the top of the line in terms of price and also the number balance armature count. Okay, just like usual, I will review this IM with this breakdown from the build, fit, frequency response, and comparison. Well, build quality wise, if you have tried some of its products from its lower budget lineup from Thieaudio, like the L4, L5, for me it's actually mediocre. It has the same build, it's all resin, it has nothing special, it's just bigger, but build quality wise it's just the same. And also the faceplate reminds me of some mix from it's using like this two-color faceplate, so it definitely reminds me of the Oracle or maybe the Clairvoyance and also the OG Monarch, but it's different in color, where they're usually using blue, but right now it's like magma yellow or magma orange with some red on it. It's quite different from left and right. You see that the other part has somehow more orange-ish color, but build quality wise it's actually pretty mediocre. It's not really special. It's all made of resin, and yeah, it's quite big. It's using 16 balance armature, and this part I don't really like about this cable. You can see that it's actually have this recessed. This cable is meant for a recessed body IM, but there's no recession in the body itself, so it will stick out a bit like this. Actually, it's a little bit annoying to see personally. And also the cable itself is quite thick and covered in some kind of cloth material, some kind of fabric material. And the jack itself is, just look at this, it's very sturdy, it's very big, and yes, it's interchangeable. So in the packaging itself you could change them into 2.5 or 3.5 single-ended. When it comes to fit, I know this is very subjective, but yeah, I need to tell you about this. Since I have a somehow pretty mediocre too small size ears, if you have a ear size like me, typical Asian, I need to warn you a bit, because it's a thick IM. It's definitely a thick IM. You can see that it's quite thick, and the nozzle itself, it's not really long, but thankfully it's a little bit angled, so when you insert them to your ears, it's not like this, but it's a bit like this. So this part that is touching my ear, it always feels that it's so full. Let me show you. And also when I'm using ear tips, I need to use a somehow thick ear tips with thick stem, so it doesn't wiggle. So when I'm using spin fit has this wiggling stem. For me it doesn't help, and it's really not proper in my ears because how thick the body is. You can see that even though I already pushed them all the way in like this, it's still sticking out like this. So yeah, and it feels really full in my ear, so I don't really like that it's so full in my ear. Sometimes when I'm using mask, oh, it's just so full, because you will get a little bit pushed like this. It just hurts a bit. So yeah, not a really fan of how big of this IM is. And also take a look at this, the body of the IM is really big, and also the ear gate itself, it doesn't really loop correctly into my ears because it has some recession that is not recessed around here. So the loop is a little bit pushed far. It doesn't really help with the whole comfortability of this IM. And also the cable itself is quite large and a little bit heavy. So yeah, honestly speaking, I'm having quite a struggle with using them for a long time. Well, frequency response wise, this Thieaudio V16 Divinity is somehow aligned with Crinecle's neutral target, especially around the upper mid-range to treble area here, but with added bass. So yeah, maybe you could say that this is somehow a neutral-ish IM with bass boost. Okay, when it comes to the sound, I'm primarily using my iBasso DX160 as my primary source, and I have to say that this IM is really easy to drive, so you will not have any difficulties when you're trying them using your phone only. And using the 4.4 balanced connection using my DX160, even at low gain, I only use around 20% of its power. I hope you understand that this is really easy to drive. And for me, before I get into more about the sound of this IM, I need to say that I will be really nitpicking about this IM, because on the surface, if you're talking only about the overall bass, mid-range and treble overall frequency performance of this IM, it's really well balanced and very detailed when it comes to technical level. So on surface, it might be really a perfect IM. That's why I need to be really nitpicking. So just take a note that when I'm complaining about something about this IM, it's just me being nitpicking, because it's just a very good IM overall. Okay, let's talk about the bass. It is simply one of the best bass of any balancer mature that I've tried. Okay, I always say that the dynamic driver is always have that most natural bass. Okay, when it comes to the speed and tightness, maybe balancer mature will win against a dynamic driver. But when it comes to texture, the naturality, the timbre of the bass, for me, dynamic driver is still the best when it comes to that naturality. And this IM, it's kinda having this kind of magic that could combine them both. It's a tactile speed of a balancer material, that tightness, but combined with this thick, bold, solid punch of a dynamic driver. It's really one of the best balancer material bass that I've ever tried. And for me, actually, still, if you haven't tried the U12T, Thieaudio U12T, it still stands at the top of my book as the best bass of any balancer mature. And maybe the second place, it's belong between the IR M9 or this Thieaudio V16 Divinity, because they all have this kind almost dynamic driver bass like that is always punchy but tight and really controlled at the same time. That's just what you have. That's what happens when you get this IM. When you play energetic speed rock music, either it's EDM or it's pop music, it will always pop out and giving this muscly energy from that balancer mature bass. It's just a really good fun bass that will accompany, that will suit a lot of genre for me. It's just really hard to complain about the bass. It's just maybe that it's still lacking some dynamic driver texture, that maybe this kind of bouncy texture that I usually have when I'm hearing a dynamic driver. But other than that, for me, it's a very versatile kind of bass. And also when I'm talking about the mid-range, again, it's also really well balanced mid-range that is somehow really smooth and addicting if you love vocal just like I am. When I hear Diana Krall, when I hear Olivia Ong, when I hear Michael Bublé, oh, that sweetness, that texture, it's just to die for. It has this really good texture, but still maintaining a really clear pronunciation of the words. Also very good portrayal about the texture of the voice itself. So it's just a really good vocal when it comes to this IM. It just may be, again, I'm really being nitpicking here, because of how smooth the sound is, how the texture, it's just really silky smooth and also sublime. I feel that sometimes I'm losing a bit of edge at some songs. For example, when I'm here Taeyeon, I or Fine, when she screams, when she like singing from all of her voice, it's like I'm losing a little bit of energy there. I feel that it's a little bit smoothened there. So yeah, it's just that. But other than that, if you're talking about the vocal balance and overall texture, it's just simply really amazing. And then the treble itself, again, it's hard to blame treble. It could go really high, but it's still somehow smooth. And when I'm playing some music, I feel that it's still lacking a little bit of airiness from the upper treble. But other than that, for me, it's a really good treble. It always be there. If you hear cymbals, you hear some percussion, you hear really high notes from violin, it will always be there. It's just, for me, lacking a little bit of airiness when I'm comparing them with the IRM9 or the U12T. But again, it's just me being nitpicking. Other than that, for me, on the surface, if you hear any song, the bass, mid, treble is simply really perfect, I think, because it's smooth, it is balanced, but it's still fun at the same time. If I have to complain a bit, it's only about the dynamics and also that I lacking of edge that I expect when I'm hearing some rock music. Maybe it's kind of too smooth sometimes, but other than that, for me, it simply will be one of the perfect category maybe for some people, I believe, because it's just that good. And also talking about technicalities, if you have seen some of my reviews, I always put the U12T and also the QDC Untitled VX at the top of my list as the most technical IM that I've ever heard. And for me, it is also up there. Yes, it may be the cheapest, I think. Yes, it is the cheapest among the three, but for me, the technicalities level is just up there. The separation level and also layering and every instrumental separation is just really good when I'm here orchestral for Hans Zimmer or some other orchestral soundtrack from Sawano Hiroyuki, I think. Every instruments, every detailed, every little of nuances that I get from this IM, it's just otherworldly. It's just really good, but it never goes too harsh. It's just being well kept, controlled, and also detailed, but fun at the same time. So yeah, again, on the surface, if we're talking about only the bass, mid-range, treble, and also the overall technicalities, I believe it could be endgame for some people because it's just that good for me. So my complaint is maybe these two. It's about the dynamics because it's bass, mid, treble, or feels kind of forward but also smoothened at the same time. I'm losing a little bit of edge and differentiation between the decibel change in some songs. I always feels that all the songs sounds loud, so I'm lacking a bit of dynamism here. Where's the forte, where's the pianissimo, if you understand that music terms, where's the smooth part, where's the part that goes really really loud, where's the part where there's really a low sound. I'm liking a little bit of that dynamics from some orchestral, and also I'm losing a little bit of edge in some songs that I really enjoy, like rock music or maybe that screaming voice for some female vocal. But other than that, this IM is just really a really good all-rounder IM that I will put at my top of my list right now. Okay, let's talk about the comparison first. Unfortunately, I didn't have the U12T and QDC VX with me at this time, but I have compared them. And for me, when it comes to the bass, texture, and bass only, the U12T will always wins. It's just somehow a little bit better than this, and also the Untitled VX. I would put that the U12T is still at the top, and then in the balanced armature game, and then the Sony IRM9 at the second. It's just a little bit better. It's actually sometimes punchier in here, sometimes it's punchier in here, maybe it's... But the overall texture of the bass, for me, the IRM9 is still a little bit more natural. It has a little bit more decay, so it's not as fast as this Thieaudio V16. But somehow the decay is more natural, so I put it at the second place. But this one is third place, but it's definitely better than QDC and LiQWYD for me. And the mid-range, for me, all of them has really good mid-range. Nothing of them sounds really too thin or too thick. Maybe the thinnest one is the QDC and LiQWYD, But for me, the other are really well balanced, the IM9 or the U12T. And the treble part, maybe it is somehow my favorite in this M9 somehow. It just touch my preference really well. I feel that the airiness and also the crisps and also the texture of the cymbal and the percussion is just really well maintained here, but still smooth at the same time. And also the second place, I'm having a little bit of hard time choosing the Thieaudio V16 or the U12T, because U12T has the best air. Actually, maybe it's because of the because of the module itself, or maybe it's just because of that 16 kilohertz from the TIA driver. For me, the U12T, even though it's not my preference as this IRM9, but the U12T is more airy somehow, and this is maybe the most balanced one, but it's lacking airiness if I compare them with this M9 or the U12T. And the QDC-NL-VX, even though it's still a really well detailed IM in the treble area, but the airiness when I'm here flute or maybe the violins at the really high notes right there at with the percussion or with that shimmering sparkle up there, for me the QDC-NL-VX is the worst among these four that I'm talking about. So yeah, let's talk about the final verdict for this IM. The pros are really a lot. It's all about the sound. On the surface level, you get that bass, you get that mid-range, you get that treble, and then you get that really high level of technicality at the same time. So it's essentially basically checking all the box in my box for maybe a really close to perfect IM, because how good they sound. And also talking about the cons is maybe it's more about the build and fit IM. Again, but the fit is a bit of subjective area, and the build, yeah, if you comparing them with the U12C and also this IM9, as for me it's still lacking a bit of the material that is being used is not as premium as the M9 or the U12C. But if you compare it with the QDC-NL-VX, they both have this kind of resin, so yeah, it's just the same. But the QDC-NL-VX fit better in my ears. Then this one, I think this is the bulkiest one. And also like the one that I said before, it's like I'm losing a bit of edge when it comes to really, I'm supposed to hearing a little bit rough vocal from some rock music, and also that edge when female vocal trying to scream. I don't really get that scream here. And also the dynamics, the decibel shifts in some songs, I don't really hear where's the forte, where's the pianissimo, where's the up, where's the low, because I hear everything. And sometimes because I hear everything, I'm losing, that funness when you hear EDM. So in some songs, when I hear EDMs, my head will go on like this by itself. But with this IM, because maybe how I can hear everything, I'm just get awed by how good they are, but I'm not really shaking my head. I hope you understand with that. But other than that, yes, it's a really top level IM. So I think that's all. If you have any question, please write down in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye bye.